How's it going, everyone? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I'm JakeyXYZ, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the week 4 roundup for the UBA season 4. A closer week than we've come. What's the phrase? Than we've come to get used to, I guess. 3 of the matches were within 2 kills apiece, 2 or less. One was not very close, and we'll get into why exactly. And one match I have not been looking forward to covering. So, but you guys should definitely check out all the coaches in the description down below. Go ahead and support them, subscribe to them. They're all beautiful people, so make sure to check them all out. And what do I normally say? Matches every Saturday and Sunday, but not this upcoming weekend. This is officially when our bye week is coming in. There's no matches this upcoming weekend, so yeah, you guys can rest easy this week. For if your favorite team's not doing too hot, maybe they need the break. But I will be doing a mid-season roundup next week. I decided instead of doing back-to-back, I'm going to do it next week before week 5 rolls around. Maybe it'll make more sense to do it here, but who knows? Whatever. I'm just going to do this one first. So we'll see how it goes. Anyways, yeah, break this week. Next weekend, we'll be right back into it. But let's get into this week. Week 4, this past week, we have starting with... that made no sense. We are starting with the Miami Palafins versus the Detroit Pyroars. The Miami Palafins walked away with a 6-4 victory over the Detroit Pyroars. Pyroars 4 straight losses. Very unfortunate on the season. They just can't seem to find anything. Although this was a closer match than their last couple weeks, obviously, so it wasn't terrible. The beginning was pretty back and forth. I'd say they were trading blows. I think Miami had a little bit more momentum than Detroit did, but it was a lot of back and forth. Rotom Heat eventually was able to hit a double team in this match, and that kind of made things a lot more complicated for Miami. So Rotom Heat did a good amount of work. It actually took out Glamora. It did some good stuff. It fully paired the Glamora. Like it did some good stuff. But Glamora did enough to get the Rotom Heat very low on red. This is just the main first talking point, because like I said, it was really back and forth up to this point. Solgaleo comes in for Miami. What Solgaleo chooses to do is click Umberto wanted to click Flame Charge. He accidentally clicked Facade. It wasn't a big deal because, like I said, the Rotom was basically one shot. Anyways, I understand why he wanted to click Flame Charge, obviously to get the free speed boost and kill the Rotom, but Facade wasn't a terrible play. What sucked, it was, by the way, also a second misclick for him 2 weeks in a row, but the sucky part was the fact that, as I mentioned, Rotom Heat got up a double team and the Facade missed. It allowed Rotom Heat to paralyze the Solgaleo and get a big hit on top of that. So it was really unfortunate, like really unfortunate, because Solgaleo A didn't need to get paralyzed, and B did not need to get that much damage, because it was brought down to like 40% off of one hit from the Rotom. So that really sucked. Then the next talking point was when Detroit chose to bring out Quackable. And it took a wild charge from Solgaleo. It actually took it not well, because it lived on like low red, but it took it nonetheless. And the Solgaleo died to recoil damage. So what I didn't realize is that recoil damage, because the Quackball technically didn't kill the Solgaleo, it didn't get a Moxie boost. So we'll call it a calculated risk on Miami's part. We'll chalk it up to that. It was definitely a mistake on his part, but or not. Well, not really. I mean, there's not really much he could have done there. I guess it might have been a low roll. Maybe I should have checked, but I wouldn't actually say it was a mistake. We'll stick with the calculated risk. We'll stick with that because the Quackball doesn't get the Moxie boost. Chin-Pao is able to come in and kill it. The next showdown is Lugia versus Chin-Pao. Lugia eventually wins that one. And at this point, Umberto fully believed, coach of the Miami Palafins, LionheartPlays, just fully believed he was going to lose at this point, because it was, I believe, Clefable and Corviknight left for him, and Detroit still had Lugia and Clodsire. So at this point, Miami was just, Umberto was fully out of hope. He literally texted me and said, GG's, I lost, like basically. But Clefable went crazy. For those of you who might not know, one of Clefable's abilities is Unaware, and what Unaware does is it ignores the stat changes of the other Pokemon. So the other Pokemon can be +6, it doesn't matter. Clefable will take the damage as if it didn't have any stat boosts. And Max just didn't realize that or didn't know it. I'm not really sure. Again, we don't have his side in this season, so I can't really tell you what he was thinking. He set up the Calm Mind. Doesn't affect Clefable. It goes both ways as well. If a Pokemon's +6 in defense and Clefable hits it, it doesn't matter. Clefable ignores all stat changes, so it's able to do the same amount of damage. It takes the regular amount of damage, you know. And Max decided to get up a Lugia, and he recovered a couple times, but then he tried to set up a Calm Mind again, and again, unaware is a thing. So Clefable's able to eventually kill the Lugia because Max was just wasting turns using the Calm Mind. The first one I can excuse, but taking as much damage as he did and barely dealing as much damage as he did, like, should have probably realized that maybe it's got unaware. Maybe I, at least if I was confused, I would have checked his ability or something like that. But yeah, that was tough. Clefable was able to take out Lugia. And then, however, this next turn was a little bit of luck. It was a little bit of luck for the side of Miami. So it becomes Clefable versus Clodsire. Clefable, he chose to recover, and maybe it's more than likely a hindsight thing. Humberto could have clicked Slice Shock on the Clodsire. He probably would have killed it in 2 turns, but he chose to recover. The Clodsire got off a yawn on the Clefable. So Clefable gets a fat hit on the Clodsire. Clodsire is able to return. Clefable falls asleep. Clefable is able to take another hit from the Clodsire, then wakes up first turn to kill the Clodsire. I think Corviknight still could have won it because there's really not much that the Clodsire could have done to it, but regardless, I mean, that's huge redemption for Clefable, because if you guys remember back in week 1, I think I mentioned it in the roundup that Humberto had 0 plans to bring Clefable back for the rest of the season, so him bringing it and it doing that and winning the match for him essentially was huge. He did. The only big mistake for Miami was really throwing, ironically enough, their mascot. He kind of threw the Palafin at the beginning of the match, which made things also more complicated. I feel like every part of this match that was difficult for Miami was on themselves. They kind of just, Humberto just kind of did it to himself. So a couple mistakes from him, but he weathered the storm and honestly managed to just overpower Max. I think that's really the case here. Maybe this is a closer match than it should have been, but Humberto still pulled it off nonetheless and subjugated Max to continue his winless season. He needs to, I don't know, maybe he really needs his break. We'll see. We'll see. But yes, Miami Palafins improved to 2-2 with a 6-4 victory over the Detroit Pyroars. And now this is the reason I've been putting off recording the roundup. I needed to cool down from this match. Is the Inferno versus the Snowdonian Frosmoths. The Snowdonian Frosmoths walked away with a 6-5 victory in this one. Now let me preface this by saying I'm not a sore loser. I'm not salty. I know how to take a loss. I've been swept before and laughed it off. Like, I know how to take a loss. I'm okay with losing. I'm not like I'm not a sore loser. But this match, this match left me very frustrated. I love Jakey as a person, I still do, but Jakey the battler, I'm still a little irate with because of this battle. It was going heavily in my favor, honestly, for the first few turns of the battle. And by first few turns, I mean the first like probably 5 to 10 turns, somewhere in that range. It was just all me. I burned his Terra. I burned my Terra, but I basically killed his Urshifu. But Eternatus was able to come in, get a couple kills, and I was able to do some good work. I took like a 2-1 advantage, I think, at that point. But momentum was just rolling, and then Garganacl hit the field. And so, for those you might not know, stalling is banned in the league, as in you're sitting there, you're wasting time, you're not moving, you're not picking plays. To me, the next worst strategy that is allowed, and it's a strategy, and I've talked about this before. I talked about it back in week 1 this season. I talked about it back in I talked about it in my match, the championship match last season, and when I faced Max during the regular season. Heal stall is a strategy. It is my least favorite strategy in the world, but it is a strategy, and that is the strategy that Jakey chose to use on me with his Garganacl. He honestly, I probably should have looked. I didn't want to watch the match again, but I probably should have looked at how long the Garganacl stalled the match. It probably was there on the field for like 10 solid minutes. At least it felt like 20 minutes, to be honest, but it was probably like 10 minutes or close to that, because we almost hit the timer at the end. So Garganacl very clearly stalled a lot of time, but it was able to take out 3 of my Pokemon before it finally went down. And then Eternatus came in, killed a couple of his Pokemon, but it eventually went down to Fluttermane. Torkoal was able to take out Fluttermane, but then eventually died to the Meowscarada, giving Jakey the win. So despite the heal stall, I still almost pulled it off, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, this was just a really rough one to sit through. I just really don't like heal stall, like, at all. Like I said, nothing against Jakey, just Jakey the person, Jakey the battler. I love you, man, but you really upset me with this one. It was when I had to take a second to cool down from, because it's just my least favorite strategy in the world. I really wish I didn't have to deal with the heal stall, but it is what it is. The most frustrating part is dating back to the last week of the regular season in season 3 to now. That's what, about 7 matches. I've been heal stalled in 4 of them. So it's becoming a really annoying trend, like a really annoying trend. Max did it to me twice. Humberto surprised me with it. And now Jakey did it to me. So it's like, it's one of those where it's just starting to get frustrating that everyone's trying to do this to me. And Jakey openly admitted in a comment on my video that it was the only way he could beat me. So that's even more frustrating too. It's my least favorite strategy. It's already been used on me just twice this season, 4 times in the last 7 matches. Like I said, I don't mind losing. I just don't like losing like that. I mean, you can ask Carlos, you can ask Humberto, you can ask the people I've talked to and practiced with and stuff like that. My favorite phrase is beat me, don't cheese me. Kick my ass, I don't care. Don't cheese me. Don't. It's really freaking, it's just one of those annoying things that I don't like. It's the only reason I make him off as a sore loser, but it is what it is. You know, the match is already done, and you know it happened. It's done. It's like, I'm not mad over it anymore. Just I'm still slightly annoyed. Especially with Jakey's comment of like, there's no way I could have beat you. That's even more frustrating because it's like, it's annoying. Like my mentality with that, and I go back to my EBO match against Humberto, LionheartPlays, the semifinal match. I knew I was gonna lose. I was like, there's no way I can get around his Miradon. I'm gonna lose no matter what. But I'm gonna go out there and I'm just gonna put on a show. I'm gonna try and fight this guy as best as I can. I went down 6-4, which is a pretty respectable scoreline, all things considered. And even actually thinking about it, the match before that against Jakey, I thought I was gonna lose. I was like, I just got my ass whooped by him earlier in the season, and I was like, I'm gonna lose to Jakey. I'm going out in the quarterfinals, first round playoffs, and I ended up winning. It's just one of those where it's like, there's better ways to lose. There's better ways to fight this. Me personally, I wouldn't want to win like that. That's just how I am. That's how I am as a battler. It's how I am. But this also makes Jakey, it's a huge talking point, and I'll get more into it in the predictions. It's a huge talking point for Jakey because now it's very clear that this man does not care. He will win by any means, which makes him an even bigger threat than we have been talking about this entire season, dating back to the preseason roundup. Like, Jakey's always been a big threat, and I always have respect for him in that sense. Like, it's very clear now with this season, he does not care. he wants to win. It's very, very clear. He wants to win. So that is a huge talking point coming from this match, I think. I can be salty about it all I want. I can be upset about it all I want. It is what it is. It happened, like I said. But the main talking point coming out of this is that Jakey now kind of looks like a very serious contender to take the title this season. So a frustrating one for me. I'm sure Jakey's happy about it, or like he's okay with just he's taking the win and moving on, like you know, going into the break 3-1. I fall to 3-1. I'm not really that upset. It just kind of sucks. I think I fell to 3rd, so I can't really keep pace with Team Coin, who we'll talk about in a second here. And yeah, so frustrating one, but you know, it is what it is. Past is past. Love you, Jakey. Really didn't like you that battle though. But yeah, we walked away, or we lost that match 5-6. Snowdonian and Frosmoths improved to 3-1, handing Dale Inferno the first loss of the season. Next up, as we mentioned, we have the Walton Wingulls versus Team Coin. Now, this is a very interesting one because I had a feeling this is what was going to happen. Like I mentioned in the predictions in the last roundup, TheDoorman, coach of Team Coin, mentioned that he was going to try something with the metronome to also kind of just have some fun and take on Nate with a metronome of his own. And what that turned into was a 2v2. We had Gengar and Arbeliva on the side of Walton versus Ndidi and Palma on the side of Team Coin. And yeah, somehow Alan, first time using metronome, got way more lucky than Nate. He walked over the 2-1 victory. It feels really weird saying that. A 2-1 victory over the Walton Wingulls, and even with someone matching the metronome, Nate still couldn't catch a break. It was really unfortunate because it's just like first turn, Indeed hit a crit Fire Blast that nearly killed Gengar, and it was just like dude, come on. Like, come on, Nate. That's just Nate's luck freaking in this match. And then they got Malignant Chain of all moves to freaking kill the Gengar. The Gengar was Terra Normal, so it didn't really matter with the resistances and stuff. I mean, it was low enough health, it was gonna die anyways. So Ndidi kills the Gengar, and it was just and then there was a showdown between Palma and Ndidi. and it was just a hell of a lot of chip damage. It was just like freaking 10 minutes, not 10 minutes, I'm exaggerating, but it was probably like a solid 5 minutes of them just chipping each other down, getting weak moves, and just going back and forth. It was a little boring at that point in the match. I kind of checked out a little bit for a second there because they were just trading back and forth. And then the main talking point comes in that Nate got Perish Song with the Palm Mat. And of course, that's his last Pokemon, so it's not like he can switch, get rid of the Perish Song. So he had 3 turns to kill both Pokemon, and it effectively ended the match. Palm Mat was able to eventually kill Indeedee first, but then, again, the luck on Alan's side, because Alan goes to Arboliva, Stellar Terras, and first turn gets a Stellar boosted Frenzy Plant. That's also Stab, so he gets an extra boost from the Stellar, and Arboliva just obliterates the Palm Out with whatever health the Palm Out had left. Alan did seem genuinely upset that there wasn't more fireworks and it wasn't a little more entertaining, because it did, like I said, it was kind of dull at certain points, but the Perish Song was really unfortunate. But yeah, for Nate, I feel really bad, because even with his opponent using Metronome and literally matching him 2-2, he still had nothing go his way. But regardless, Alan improves to 4-0. Team Coin improves to 4-0. Walton Wingulls still searching for that first win of the season. One of the main talking points, though, with this one is the KD aspect of it. I get that, you know, the best you could do is +1, but also the worst you could do is -1. And as it stands, Max is only 1 KD ahead of Nate. So, I mean, yeah, Max can make up ground when the two of them eventually play each other, I believe, in week 6 or week 7. It's for sure week 6 or week 7, but that is an interesting talking point with this one. But regardless, I mean, I get why Alan did it. I respect it. You know, they really took a chance with this one, and luck was like basically completely on this side, more or less. So really unfortunate for Nate. I did feel bad watching the match. That, you know, all the other matches, I'm kind of like, and this might make me sound like a jerk, but like, you kind of did it to yourself. Like, you chose to do it. But like this one, someone matched you and still nothing went your way. It's really unfortunate. But it is what it is. Like I said, Team Coin improves to 4-0, retained first place in the league. And the Walton Wingulls fall to 0-4, retaining last place in the league. Next up, we had the Colchester Celtics versus the Montebello Morpeko. The Colchester Celtics walked away with a, honestly, in my opinion, a much needed win. A much needed dominant win over a good opponent. No disrespect to Nate, as I said, it's nothing on the coach, it's on the team and the gimmick he's using. But really, all that win last week for Colchester did was just kind of like, I gotta win on the board, you know what I mean? And even then, it was still upsetting because he couldn't sweep, right? We talked about that in the last roundup, but this is a much needed win, I feel like, for Pidge to, like, you know, all right, cool, I'm in my groove, I got it, you know, I needed a win like this. So the match didn't start too great for Colchester, and they should probably leave Gabancho at home from now on, because it screwed him in 2 matches. It could have easily led to some more just really bad scenarios, but Galvancho got shut down by Zoroark and just was never able to get sticky webs and died just by 1 hit. Like, it didn't do anything in this one. So then Zashi comes in, kills Zoroark, and this is the main talking point that I mentioned in the intro. The main talking point being Carlos decided to bring in the Dragapult on his side, tried to hit the Zacian with a T-Wave, and it missed. That T-Wave honestly could have helped a lot, could have changed a lot. But most importantly, I think it was a bit of a mental checkout for Mr.Toast in this match, coach of the Montebello Morpeko, because he didn't really play too hot the rest of the match. His decision-making kind of fell down the drain. Not that, you know, he has been making some mistakes here and there throughout the season, but like this was just kind of like, you could tell just kind of from that point on, he was a little checked out of the match, because that's really unfortunate. That's like it's like you're, you know, you really needed that. The point being, you really needed that, and it just didn't happen. Zacian was able to kill Dragapult. He brought out Mewtwo, which I didn't like after the Dragapult. He lost Mewtwo and lost the Terra. If he had managed to keep Mewtwo alive and, you know, keep it later in the match, you know, that would have been a hell of a lot better, giving him a much better chance to potentially pull off a comeback or make this a lot closer than it was. I still think he did a good job of bringing it close, but like, he could have done it. It could have made it even closer, but in my opinion, he should have gone to King Gambit. But at that point, it wasn't a ton of information. He didn't know whether Zacian had a fighting type move or not. So, but even then, maybe he could have terra'd King Gambit and potentially got some survivability there. So I think King Gambit was the better switch, potentially the better Terra. But unfortunately, he sends a Mewtwo. Mewtwo dies. King Gambit was able to come in and kill Zacian. Didn't really take a whole lot of damage. Mudsdale comes in and kills King Gambit. And Permina obviously is the counter to Mudsdale, so Pidge says, I'm getting out of here, brings in Dialga. And Dialga hits a Thunderbolt on Primarina, and then Primarina the first turn gets a full pair, which is karma for last week for my freaking Torkoal getting fully paired against Montebello. So Dialga is able to kill Primarina without Primarina doing anything to it. And yeah, at this point, it's just Infernape left against Chandelure, Mudsdale, and not Zacian, Dialga. Oh wait, and Umbreon, because Umbreon never touched the field. And yeah, Infernape was able to kill Chandelure, but at this point, Pidge really didn't need to go. He went to Dialga Terra to kill the Infernape. I didn't think he needed to do that. I think he could have just gone to Mudsdale and finished the match there. But you know, he probably just wanted to kill on Dialga. I don't blame him in that one. But yeah, 6-3 on the side of Colchester, in favor of Colchester. This is just one of those matches where it's very clear where things went very wrong for one side, although it had been a talking point in his favor in recent weeks. The RNG was just completely against Carlson this one. That Thunderwave miss could have changed the whole match, really. Instead, it sent Carl spiraling mentally, I think. Again, he did manage to make it more respectable, but you know, it's just he couldn't really do too much. It's a tough one, but sometimes it shakes out like that. Sometimes RNG's on your side one week, next week it is completely against you. So you just gotta shake it off and move on. For Pidge though, this is, like I said, I know this probably feels a lot better than the win last week. Although, like, again, for that one, he just wanted to get one on the board. This is probably going to be a much more fulfilling win. Because, again, in last week, yeah, he got the win, but things didn't really go his way. RNG wasn't really on his side. So it's one of those where, like, I got to win, but, like, damn it. You know, you could tell, like we talked about, he seemed visibly very frustrated in that match, and he said as much. But this week, comes in with the 6-3. Yeah, he might feel like, you know, maybe RNG could have changed this match, but at the end of the day, he beat a good coach in the league. And, like I said, I think this will be a much more fulfilling win for him. So congrats to Colchester. They improved to 2-2. Their second win in a row. Montebello, their second loss in a row. So both teams on opposite trends right now. We'll be talking about that in the midseason roundup. But yeah, not good for Montebello. Great for Colchester. So that is it for our week 4 matchups. Now we have our week 5 matchups. We're going to be talking about these. These are going to come after the break, of course. First up, we have the Detroit Pyroars, who are 0-4 versus the LA Inferno, who are 3-1. Despite Lionheart being pushed a little bit more than I would have expected, Max still made quite a few mistakes in this match. And that's kind of been his theme throughout the season. He makes a couple glaring mistakes that just cost him any form of momentum, and it just kind of spirals from there. So I think, combined with the fact that I really need a win after this last week, I'm taking myself in this one. I mean, until Detroit wins, I don't think I can really pick them. I don't think I'm in a place to be able to pick them. I believed in Max for the first couple weeks, and then things kind of spun down the drain in week 3 and haven't gotten much better since then. I mean, I guess like I said, he did push Lionheart, but I feel like a lot of Lionheart's mistakes in that match were kind of on him. Not really so much Max outplaying him. So I'm going to back LA Inferno this one to prove to 4-1 rebound from last week, and Detroit Pyroars, you know, continue their slope. Next up, we have the Miami Palafins versus the Walton Wingulls. Humberto's not going to be as nice as Allen. This is going to be a 6-0 sweep. Expect a quick match. That's really it. I'm taking the Miami Palafins. Sorry, Nate. Humberto has no mercy. This is not going to be this might be like a 5-minute video. I'm not going to... The intros and outros might be longer than the actual battle, unless Nate gets some insane luck. But with Pidge exposing the taunt, Humberto's not going to let it slide. He's going for a sweep. I promise you that. I promise. Like, he's just gonna make this such a quick match, and yeah, I'm taking the Miami Falcons. Not much else to talk about there. Humberto's he's not merciful. Next up, we have the Snowdonian Frosmoths versus the Colchester Celtics. This is going to be a banger. Both of these gentlemen have totally begun to find their footing with their respective teams. I'd expect a shootout. I expect this to just go back and forth, boxing match, boom, boom, boom type of match. I'm going to back Jakey in this one. Because it's very, like we talked about, it's very clear he's willing to find a win by any means necessary. And that's the mentality that a champion needs. But this is a huge test for both of these gentlemen right here. Like, Pidge, a little bit of pressure is alleviated, right? Because he beat a good coach in the league. So, or one of the better performing coaches in the league. I guess how I should have been phrasing it. You know, so that's got to feel good for him. But if he managed to take down Jakey on top of that, who's coming off of a win like he just had, beating an undefeated team, that could be really good for Pidge's confidence as well. But I think Jakey just proved and showed everyone that he does not care. He's going to win, and he'll find any way to do it. don't expect Pidge to take a loss lying down. And like I said, he could just as easily check Jakey in this match. Pidge is a very experienced battler. He knows what he's doing. Very tactical. That's sort of the opposite of what Jakey's been known for. He has shown glimpses of that, especially in that sweep this season. But I am going to back Snowdonian in this one. But do not be surprised if Colchester pulls it off. This is going to be a really fun match. Potential battle of the week type match. Potential battle of the season type match. So we'll see. Next up, we have Team Coin versus the Montebello Morpeko. This should be an interesting one. I think things could easily go back and forth between the two, and it really comes down to how Carlos handles the changing tides of the battle. Like we talked about Team Coin's team and how Alan's done well to adjust and find flows in matches and do good stuff and chain Pokemon together. Again, chain that sort of cohesiveness with only like 2 or 3 Pokemon, and he does a great job of that. So it's really going to come down to how Carlos handles that in this battle. I'm obviously going to back the undefeated team. It's nothing really against Carlos. Team Coin's 4-0. Team Coin. We're on a Team Coin train. So they're 4-0. I'm going to back the undefeated team. But I really think the break will give Carlos more time to understand what Alan's team can do and what Alan can do and what Alan's been doing. So it could be really beneficial to him the more time passes. So we'll see with this one. But I'm going to back the undefeated team. Just like I'm not going to choose the teams who haven't won a match at this point. So this could be a really fun one. This could be a fun one. It could become a match where things get out of hand for one team really fast, or like just halfway through the match or something like that. So it'll be an interesting one to watch. So yeah, I'm gonna back Team Coin, but keep an eye on the Montebello Morpeko in that one. So to quickly go over the matchups: the Detroit Pyroars versus the LA Inferno. I'm back in the LA Inferno. The Miami Palafins versus the Walton Wingulls. I'm back in the Miami Palafins, of course. The Snowdonian Frosmoths versus the Colchester Celtics. I'm back in the Snowdonian Frosmoths. And Team Coin versus the Montebello Morpeko. I'm backing Team Coin in that one. To give a quick update in the standings, I'm gonna go more in depth in the mid-season roundup, but I'll give you guys, in case you want to update right now. Heading into the break, Team Coin is first at 4-0 with a plus 12 KD. In second, the Snowdonian Frostmoths are 3-1 with a plus 10 KD. In third, myself, 3-1 with a plus 10 KD. El Inferno. In fourth, we have the Colchester Celtics 2-2 with a plus 3 KD. In fifth, we have the Montebello Morpeko 2-2 with a neutral KD 0. In sixth, we have the Miami Palafins who are 2-2 with a minus 3 KD. In seventh, the Detroit Pyroars 0-4 with a minus 16 KD. And in eighth, the Walton Wingulls 0-4 with a minus 17 KD. I'll go into more potential playoff matchups. Yes, we can kind of start talking about that now in the midseason roundup. Like I said, we'll go way more in depth with the standings and kind of how teams are performing and stuff like that, and potential matchups and stuff in the midseason roundup. But yeah, that's those are the standings as it currently stands. So yeah, but this, like I said, this was an interesting week. We had probably closer matches than we've seen all season, at least multiple closer matches in 1 week than we've seen all season. And yeah, next this upcoming, well, I guess week 5, I should say, is going to be a very interesting one. These, like I said, playoffs are coming. They're coming real quick, so things are starting to heat up. We're fighting for our playoff spots, and it's gonna come down to the wire, I feel like, with this one. So keep an eye out for that. Again, there are no matches this weekend. They will resume next weekend. The mid-season roundup will also be coming next Friday, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, be sure to check out all the coaches in the description down below. Go subscribe to them so you do not miss a single match of the season. And if you guys want to see more roundups, more stuff from me, be sure to subscribe to this channel as well. And yeah, of course, be sure to share the socials with our friends, family, everyone. Let me know the link returns that. See you guys in the next one. Bye.